Good morning. Have you guys been feeling more stressed out than usual? There's so much going on in the world, and as we know, more than ever before, we all have to manage our stress levels and our mindset, especially with what we're dealing with. Now, look, being an entrepreneur, a business owner, a coach is already stressful enough because we have a lot coming at us every single day. But there's so many high achievers out there that are hiding and not coming out and coming forth and sharing their stress. And I don't mean sharing the stress in a bad way. I mean just sharing what's going on in their lives. We can't all just hide and pretend it's not happening because it is. So today, my guest is no exception to my usual guests on Friday. She's going to give you massive value. We're talking about breaking that stress cycle for life. Today, my guest is Melonie Taylor, and she's a success mentor. She is the Chief Energy Officer at Success on Purpose, and she mentors high achievers to thrive in their life and their business. She has an Bachelor of Applied Science, Health Promotion, Bachelor of Nursing, a Specialist Certificate in Palliative Care from University of Melbourne, and is the winner of the Order of Malta Award with First Class. Please welcome to the show today. We're talking all about stress and how you can break your cycle. Miss Melonie Taylor, come on in. It's lovely to have you here. Thank you for being my guest today.
Good morning. Thank you, gorgeous. Very, very grateful to be here.
It's lovely I love doing my Friday interviews because the best thing about this is we get to spread our message with the world to a much, much greater audience. So everybody wherever you're watching from, we have multiple platforms going on right now. We are streaming live into my Facebook group, Find Your Voice Aspiring Speakers Club. So if you're seeing this somewhere else, please join the club. It's a free club. We've got about 1,000 members in that club, and you can share the goodies that you've got available to you in your resources as a coach inside that group anytime on promo days. And if you're watching this on YouTube, fantastic. Congratulations to all my fans over there. We've just hit 9,000 subscribers. Yay! So it's just going great guns. Yeah, it's awesome. So if you're watching it on either of those platforms, all you have to do to ask Melonie a question is pop it underneath the video that you're watching right now. It doesn't matter what platform that's on. I can actually see that comment right here and then pop it up on the screen so we can actually answer your questions. And we've got Chris here from Belgium. Yay! Thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to have you here, Chris. Thank you for joining us. Today, it's all about the stress. So give us a little introduction, Mel. I mean, what brought you to this type of work right from the get-go?
Yes, great question. Because I was incredibly stressed. I was what I would call now an overachiever. Hence, when you just shared about my academia, I was a nurse. I was a nurse for 18 years, and I ended up breaking my wrist in 2010. I was working 2 jobs in palliative care, which of course is quite a stressful environment anyway. And I was also doing my postgrad at Melbourne University. What happened, and I was training to do a half marathon, and I was an absolute human doing. I wasn't a human being. I was a human doing. I was stressed. I was overwhelmed. I was busy. And I was an incredible giver. I loved to give to people, and I didn't know how to receive. I didn't know how to receive from myself or from anyone else. So the greatest gift that ever happened to me was in 2010. During all of this academia and everything, I broke my wrist. And that was my higher self, let's say, way of saying stop. And it was my left wrist, which I study metaphysics, is about the feminine and receiving. So I broke my left wrist, and I had to repair that to start to open up to learn how to receive. So I learned through a lot of pain and suffering how to manage my stress because I was so stressed. And it was a good thing because I actually had a mental breakdown, and I had to surrender my ego to my higher self to start to allow support to come in. And I realized that, I actually didn't know how to receive support. And I didn't know how to love myself either. I was never taught to care for yourself, look after yourself, just keep giving, do your best, keep getting the next accolade. And I ended up winning the Order of Malta Award, which was a great academic achievement. But I didn't know how to enjoy it because I was like, tick, what's next? Tick, what's next? And then
definitely overachiever.
yes. I wasn't feeling my way through life. I was just, thinking my way. And nothing was ever good enough, because behind that, I was driven by the belief system that I'm not good enough. So it didn't matter what I achieved. It was never going to be good enough. So I was up on the podium receiving this amazing award. And then I had this moment where I thought, I think this is a big deal. There's all these people, everywhere. And I thought, gee whiz, look at what I can achieve. I achieved this through, burnt out, broken wrists throughout the year, just really pushed through. And I was, one of the youngest at achievement. And, and I just had this epiphany, and I thought, wow, what would happen if I was kind to myself and loving to myself? So I actually put that out there. I didn't know how to do that, of course. I had no idea, but I put that out there, and they say, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And I was in Nepal that Christmas doing some volunteer work over there, and I spent 2 weeks with one of my colleagues, a nurse, and she told me about this mentor that she was seeing and how she'd helped her and all these limiting beliefs. And I said, I need to see that mentor. I became aware that I was driven by I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, and this overachiever to get somewhere. And so, I started being mentored. That was 10 years ago now. And then, I loved my work as a nurse, but I found that there was more that I could do, and that I started to be vulnerable and share my story with people because I was a very quiet, very insular. I didn't share much. I was always giving to others. But I started to share my story with people, and then people started to say, oh, me too. I was like, really?
Bingo.
Anyone?
That's why I said that right at the very beginning, because I noticed that a lot of people who are out there, a lot of people who are high achievers, running businesses, successful, we tend to hold everything in and try to process it here. And while we're helping everybody else, but it's not filling up our cup, because it's just exhausting. So when we actually come out, and speak to other business owners and admit, it's hard sometimes. We need to support each other in our stress, because there's a lot going on. Now, what I want everyone to hear, and I know that this happened a little while ago now, because Melonie's got an amazing story. Did you hear the words she said? The great thing is that I had a breakdown. I hope you caught that, because the biggest thing that I've learned in my life is that we learn so much from adversity and crap that happens. The biggest lessons that we have and the biggest wisdom that comes to us is from those learnings. It's the old saying, through every cloud there is a silver lining. It's like that. Sometimes when we get hit by that Mack truck, we have to actually stop and reassess. So it's so great that you did that, because look where it's gotten you. It's changed your life completely, which is the beauty of how things unfold.
Yeah, and now I'm changing so many other people's lives as well.
Yeah, exactly. And we couldn't have done that if we'd stayed where we were without that massive breakdown or meltdown or stop, which is the most beautiful thing. It's not beautiful at the time, of course, but in hindsight, of course, we can see the growth. Let's just quickly look at the comments. Good morning. Who have we got here? Hello from Eastern North Carolina. Make it rad, DIY. I love it. I love it. Welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you here. So let's jump into the first key today, Mel. The very most important thing that you said is, first thing we need to learn is understand where the stress comes from.
Yeah, so it all comes from our brain, our mind, and particularly our monkey mind. So our limbic system. So in the center of our brain is our emotional center. And from a very early age, we actually learn to fear life. Be careful, stop, as we're growing up. And then as from 0 to 7, our brain starts to fire belief systems. Our brain is very egocentric. It thinks that everything is true and everything is our fault. So look, we have big traumas in life, but it's also the little things in life that happen where our brain will make a decision and say, oh, boom, there we go. There's proof I'm not good enough. And then we file that belief system in our brain, and then our subconscious mind, so the part underneath the surface, which is very much a part of the ego, says, I must be right and keep you safe, so I will bring more I am not good enough to you. So then we just keep attracting, and then as that belief system fires, it's called a neuronet, it sends a message to the brain, to the limbic system, to formulate an emotion. And all of these limiting beliefs are based in fear. So then a bit of fear, shame, guilt, emotion is made in the hypothalamus, sent to the pituitary gland, down into the cells of the body. There's a lock and key fit, and then in goes a bit of fear into the body.
Wow.
Well, a lot actually. And what happens is we get adrenaline and cortisol, we get a massive chemical hit from it, and then our body goes, oh, I like this feeling. I'd like a little bit more of that, please. So then we start to attract more things. So we actually, because we're here to feel, we're human beings here to feel. And so for a long time, we get very addicted. Our body gets very addicted to stress. And then we just keep creating more and more things. And then that's why the beautiful thing is about the breakdowns, because that's where the breakthroughs come from. It's when your ego says, I can't hold it together anymore. And stress really comes from not feeling safe as a child. For different reasons. And so then we become control freaks. Then we become human thinking doing. So we're trying to control everything in our life, which COVID is, teaching us right now. We can't control it. And it's a beautiful time to actually go within and find that certainty within, find that control within, and then connect to that deeper part of ourself that's got a grand vision and a grand plan for us. But all those limiting beliefs, they're not incongruent with the magnificence really that we are. So, we don't move to pleasure, but we'll move away from pain. So this is why we create a lot of pain in our life to actually steer us back on our track, on our track to truth. So I would say I've been through COVID, probably had my own COVID back in 2010, probably for quite a few years. And I was like, what is the purpose of life? I was working with people that were dying every day. I had a lot of anxiety and depression myself. And I was like, what? I just don't understand life. It just makes no sense. So it took me on this, extraordinary journey of finding what purpose means to me, and self-love and joy and connecting with my inner self. And it's changed my life, and I'm grateful to be able to change people's, and anyone can do this work, which is the good thing.
Yeah. Oh, look, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the biggest thing that we all have to get past is our own belief system and mindset first, because if you secretly believe, while you're affirming, if you secretly believe that you're not good enough, and you secretly believe that you can't change your mind or your stress, and you believe that it's everybody else's fault, then you're just going to stay victim and not broken, but stuck. You're going to stay victim and stuck the whole time. We have to be able to change our belief systems first. So what are the key number two? What are the key strategies that you use to eliminate stress for both you, of course, and your clients?
Yeah, so I work on it every single day, and people say, Mel, how come you're so happy? And it's because I actually, I put effort in every single day. You have to take action because, as I said earlier, our body, our brain loves to be stressed. And so key strategies is to get into what's called the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's the opposite of the stress response. And I'll share today, there's different activities that you can do to actually build that parasympathetic nervous system relationship in your brain rather than it always going into the stress response. So it's things like deep breathing, breath. Breath is actually the most important thing. And it was what I realized when I was stressed is that I needed to think about things, and I gave myself no oxygen, no breath. I used to breathe from up here. I had a lot of anxiety, so I'd be breathing up here. Then there's what's called the prefrontal cortex, our thinking center. So when we don't have breath coming through, we can't think because it turns into like a sultana.
Yep.
So it's actually number one. It's number one. It's number one in everything is actually breath. So back in, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago now, I bought in my stubborn and I was like, right, I've got to change this. And I did a practice of 5 minutes of deep breathing every day for 30 days. And I just showed up and I just took deep breaths, and that's all I did. And I just stayed committed to that. And I didn't really know the effects of it back then, what scientifically was happening. But what happened after those 30 days is I had no anxiety for 2 hours.
Wow. And that's huge for some people. I mean, you might think, oh, 2 hours is nothing. But if you live with anxiety, 2 hours free of anxiety is great. What a
I
step
had
forward.
anxiety my whole life.
Yeah,
My
I
whole
did
life.
too, Mel. Yeah, I did too, and I wasn't breathing either. And this is
Yeah.
one of the very first things, even in public speaking, people ostensibly come to me because, you know, they have a trouble with their voice or something is going on and they can't public speak or whatever. It starts with the brain and the breath. That's it. The two first places I always start with is psychology and breathing techniques for speaking specifically, because we all hold our breath when we're tense. And of course, you're not going to be able to public speak when you can't think because you forget your content. It's like, what was my name? I can't remember. What's your name? Don't ask. And I mean, it's funny, but it's true, right? We just go, and this is a big deal for everybody. So yes, breathing. Love that. We just have a little comment here from Make It Rad in North Carolina. He says, got to scoot, but wanted to drop in a while I have a chance. Got to be torn down to be built back up sometimes. I get it. Yeah. And people who know this realize that it's not such a bad thing because it makes us stop and reassess and gives us a new way out. You don't have to change this. You know, it's like, it's almost like being dumped in a cave and there's multiple doors. You want to go back up the same door and the stairs that you came? Yeah, I don't think so. Let's choose another door.
New direction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And sometimes it can be a radical redirection. And it was for me, but that can be a beautiful thing too, because years ago when you're a nurse, you probably didn't even imagine you were doing this sort of work.
No way.
Yeah, it wasn't on the radar, right? It's like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a nurse. You know, that was on your radar, but who knows what's around the corner when these things happen to us. It gives us a massive curveball, but it can be the most beautiful gift that you ever get because it heads you off into a new direction that you never would have thought about. That's the beauty of these dives, you know?
Yeah, that just wouldn't have even been in my awareness. If I had to do a 5-year goal planning, you know, that I wouldn't have even thought that this was even possible. I didn't know anything about business. My family are not in business. But yeah, I have a massive love for learning. And I must say I'm very grateful for my anxiety and my depression. It really got me here today because the pain of that actually got me taking action, doing deep breathing. And what happens is you stretch the vagus nerve in the bottom of your stomach when you take deep breaths. And there's a pathway that goes up through the heart to the brain and it turns on the relaxation zone. So I was a bit of a skeptic about stuff. All my work is, I'm spiritual, but it's all very backed by science.
Me too. Yeah, me too. Oh my God. And see, I love that because they talked a lot about the vagus nerve when I was in singing, but I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it at that time. But now, it's people are talking about this more than ever. That is so interesting. I love that. We've got one more key here that I want to share with everybody: how to remain energized and joyful every day. Most people that I meet, because I work with a lot of people with anxiety and depression and PTSD and trauma and things like that through their public speaking goals. And I find that one of the biggest things that everyone struggles with is finding or recreating that energy and that joyfulness when they've been in that dark place for so long. It's a neurological pathway. It's very easy to go straight back to that well-worn path that we all have because we've rehearsed it so many times. So what are some of the strategies that you use with your clients to get back that energy and joyfulness? Because when that's missing, oh my God, isn't it awful? It's almost like life is a drag instead of life is a joy.
Yeah, well, joy is actually a feeling. And we think we get joy by doing things in life, like, you know, hanging out with people, I don't know, going to parties and things like that, but it's actually an inner state that your brain actually secretes in your body, so you can feel joyful from actually not doing too much. So the key is to connect to yourself and just have a daily practice of getting into this parasympathetic nervous system, because then your body's going to feel more relaxed. And the key is just to start to break your habits. A really good one for me is before I come into my office every morning, I have a cup of tea, a pot of tea. So it's good to anchor these things with something you already do, because your subconscious mind will always try to make you forget, because it wants to go back to stress rather than down the route of, love and joy.
Very true.
Always anchor it to something you're already doing. So I put in my tea and my water, and then I put on a song, and then I just dance. I dance in the kitchen while that's brewing, and that just changes my state. So I mean, a lot of the time now I'm actually in a very high state because of all this inner work I've done on myself. Sometimes though, I'm not feeling great. And the other thing I will say about that is I always I do some journaling in the morning, and I ask myself, so how am I feeling today? So sometimes, like last week, I don't know if you know about the Lion's Gate, but all this energy, and I was rocked sideways. And how are you feeling? I wasn't great. But in just honouring that for myself, I always feel a shift, rather than trying to be positive. And, you just say, how am I feeling today? And then I just start to write it out, and, I'm not feeling great. I'm exhausted. And then I just feel like this, because I've relaxed into my parasympathetic nervous system, because I've been honest with myself, and I've allowed my cells, instead of them staying stressed, just to release and let go, and then emotion. So energy starts to move out that no longer serves. So it's all about breaking habits. It's all about, key strategies to get into this parasympathetic nervous system, and starting to learn to put yourself first. And I ask all my clients, the first question I ask them is, what do you do for joy? And most people don't know, because all of the joy is externalized. And I say, no, that's not for you. That's for everyone else. What do you do? And everyone goes, I don't know. I say, bingo, me either. When I first started this work, I wouldn't have known how to answer that question. So that's something that we uncover. And a really powerful thing to do is what I call, I got it from Darren Hardy, he's one of my mentors in America, is what's called a passion project. So every part of your morning routine, you spend half an hour actually identifying for you what brings you joy. And mostly it's in learning new things as well. That's why I love business so much, because I'm always learning, and that just gives me so much joy and makes me feel energized. So it's actually, there's no quick, answer for this. It is a process, but you just start with getting into your parasympathetic nervous system with one thing, finding a habit you've got and just changing your state, and then just spending half an hour just every morning for you on identifying actually what does give you joy, so you can start to implement that into your day.
I love that. I remember years ago, a couple of years ago, working at a Tony Robbins event. A lot of people were struggling with the very same thing, and they were always saying that happiness is elsewhere, happiness is external, and I'm not happy because, right, I don't have a partner, or I don't have whatever. There's always an excuse for our happiness. And he did a really, really great instant sort of coaching on the people that were really struggling. And he just made everybody write a list of 10 tiny little things in their life that they can do to make them happy right now. Tiny, tiny little things. So they can start to actually work on those little things. You're talking about the same thing. I think it's such a great idea. And even if you have a pet, to do that deep breathing and cuddle your pet at the same time, that will help you calm down and take those deep breaths and find that inner joy. And we can do that and make that happen for us anytime, because our mind is such a powerful thing. But I find I call it like an untrained puppy. If we just allow it to go rampant and chew all the toys up and destroy your life, well, it's because we haven't trained the puppy, have we? We've got to get back to training. And the training you have to keep doing, because it's just going to keep running rampant unless you watch it. It is like a crazy puppy. Hey, Chris has just joined us again and said, I want to go from a teacher and staff member of a vocational school to a live streamer with a weekly show. I love that. And Chris, I want to see you do that. I absolutely want to
do that. Do it.
Yeah, Absolutely. That's the passion project that Chris wants to
Mm,
do. Isn't that beautiful? And that'll
perfect.
bring so much joy to people. I think it's puppetry you're interested in, right? That's so beautiful. So if you could, we're just going to finish up now. If you want to find Melonie, if you would like to work with her or ask her any questions, please just type into a URL, successonpurpose.net.au. That's Melonie Taylor, successonpurpose.net.au. Now, even if you're watching this on the replay, what I want you to do on either Facebook or the Voice of Confidence TV is just put hashtag replay. And if you have a question for me or a question for Melonie, please just pop it underneath. We will check both platforms for comments and we will get back to you and send you any of the links or things coming up. It's been an absolute pleasure having you today. If you were going to leave one little bit of gold for everybody from your experience and expertise, what would that
Oh,
be?
makes me emotional. Never give up. There's so many times that I was suicidal at times. I was like, ugh, just what is this world about? But just keep going. Never give up because
It's so true. Yeah. And I feel exactly the same, Mel. I was like that for years, 2 years and years ago. And we can use all sorts of excuses as to why and point the finger as like, because of my husband did this or this person did that to me or all the bullying and the trauma and, you know, the anxiety that I've been through other things. We can constantly look and point the finger, but we are so capable of finding and tapping that potential, that pure energy that's back inside of us. So I agree 100%, guys. Never give up. Don't you ever give up. This life is worth living. There's so much good in this world. Look for the good. And you've got one beautiful person standing right in front of you, Melonie Taylor, that can help you show the way. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. It's just been a joy to be with you today. Here's Chris got one more comment. It's art. Ooh, antiques and cats. My cat Moleka makes me every day happy and learning live streaming too. Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today, Melonie. And so everybody who's watching here on YouTube and Facebook, it's been my pleasure to host the program again. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful day. If you're watching this on replay, remember, just pop it underneath the video that you're watching right now and you can ask any question and we'll get back to you in the next couple of days. Have a wonderful weekend and I look forward to seeing you at the next live show next week. See you then. Bye.
Big love to everyone. Thank you,
Bye.
gorgeous.